Going on, guys? Give me 2 seconds here, guys. Hello, hello. What's going on, guys? Happy Thursday, almost Friday. Let me just make sure everyone's in. Live now. Please confirm. Just make sure everyone can hear me and see my screen. Awesome. Give me a second. Make sure everyone can hear me. Excellent. Give everyone a minute to hop on. And I will get started in about 30 seconds, guys. Hoping this is going to be a really good session for you guys. Honestly, I'm just really running this session not to go over trades today, but more so for you guys and your benefits. So, come with a pen and paper. Maybe we can knock out some questions. I'll take like maybe 30 minutes here, 40 minutes here, guys. And we'll crank out some Q&A at the end. Going to go through a typical pattern I like to trade. I'm going to show a bunch of people some stuff. So, pretty cool session today, but mostly this session's for you guys, not to really go over my trades or how much I made or lost. Just want to kind of just run through a Q&A session, do maybe 2 or 3 examples of really just a pattern that I like to trade, as well as along with typically what happens after certain breaks. So I'll show you guys some of that stuff today as well. Just give everyone a second here to hop on. See, there's about 60 people jumping in already. Great. Let me just quickly stock twits real quick. Live now. One second, guys. AFRM, what was the other one that we played today? EFTR, there it is. Give me 1 second, guys. Making sure all my social networks can quickly join the lesson since this is a free lesson. Awesome. Give everyone 10 seconds here, guys, and I'm going to run through a lot of this stuff. Awesome. I'm going to get started here. So I hope everyone could see my screen. I should see the screen in a second. First off, welcome to all the new members who joined Spud Zone. If you guys don't know me, I've been trading for quite some time. I've turned about 15,000 into a little over 2 million now. And so, I love to go over my strategies. And I'm going to run through, I've been going over my strategies probably the last couple months as I started this YouTube about 2 months ago. I've got a ton of great feedback. I want to make sure this YouTube's a lot different than like maybe other YouTubers you follow, other big traders you follow. Like, I want to like dive into the weeds. I want to like show where I'm entering, where I'm looking to exit, what's happening in the markets. How did I lose on this trade? Why did I lose on this trade? Because you can learn so much by kind of going through that. How do we see a pattern? How do we find sympathy plays? Are we buying the 52-week high breaks? Different types of things like that, right? That, to new traders, you may not even know what half this means, right? But it really comes down for me is all candlesticks, price action, candlesticks, and then really just sentiment, right? So If you guys haven't followed me before, my name is Spud from the Spud Zone. So, I have 53,000 followers on Webull, a little over 22,000 followers StockTwits, and 17,000 in Discord. I highly recommend joining the Discord. Tons of great content, great community. It's very in-depth, great energy, great positive vibes. So I'd highly recommend. You can see that in the channel. I am not a financial advisor. I am a retail trader, so I do trade with my own money. I do take every loss I take is with my own money. Every gain I take is with my own money. And so that is how I make a living. I am not a financial advisor, so please take all this as trade ideas and educational content, which it all is. Awesome. So jumping into today. So after hours, if you were in the Discord last night, I gave a buy idea alert, and this was after hours on ticker EFTR. It had a great run. I stop loss out, and I lost about 10, 15 grand on the name into close. And I want to show you guys the chart. I missed this entire ride up. I was looking at around 13s yesterday down here, and this thing just blew up yesterday. I wanted to try and snag a potential dip in here. I thought it was going to potentially rip back up to like sort of that 33, 34 range. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll buy the dip, sell in here. It never happened that day. I ended up stopping out down in here. But then in after hours, guys, we got a nice dip all the way down to 24 bucks. And if you guys remember the price action on FCUV, that ticker, I think last week, that ran very similar price, almost identical price, typical price action. Volume was pretty similar as well. It had a big after hour drop, about 8 to 10%. So I gave a buy idea alert about down 10% in after hours. I said, guys, I'm going to try this very small. I'm looking for a red to green move, maybe even overnight into tomorrow into strength. And guess what happened, right? This was a 25 buy. The reason I alerted 24 was why. Right here, the low here was about 24s. Right here, the big candle halt up was in the 24s. So you have nice support around the 23, 24 range in here. So it kind of dipped down in here in after hours. We saw it kind of recover a bit up to 27. So I figured, okay, it hit 24 again. That's now a triple bottom. Maybe we'll try it. So we got a nice move all the way up into 29s. I think it peaked at last night. Or no, 30. Hit 30 in after hours. So that's like a 20% move there, which is great. But if you decided to overnight this puppy, look where you got to. Right out of the gates, we had a move from the 24 range up 11%, 10%, another 12%. That's a 30 to 40% move all the way from the overnight purchase pie around 24. So, and where do you exit? Where are folks exiting on this trade? Folks are exiting on this trade around 34.77, right? That was kind of the peak here, maybe, no, about 36. But why were people taking profits? Why did this now sell off from 36? Because yesterday, if you look at it, we had a double, triple top around 36. So technically, you couldn't maybe have lost in this trade. I ended up making money on this trade. You couldn't have lost because it really ripped up, filled the cup again, and then now is consolidating back down this 25 range. I don't know if this goes to 30, 40 tomorrow or this dumps back down the low, maybe 18, 19, 20. No idea. But, if you're a trader, right, and you buy in here, where are you going to look to sell? You're going to look to sell that resistance, which is all up in here, which is all in this 34 to 36 range. Yes, we had a high of 40, 42. That was on one potential spike. I would call the resistance here around 35, and that's where you saw the selling pressure. That's where you saw the highs today, 35, 36. So this was a great trade from the after hours low all the way in here, all the way up in here, about 20, 30%. And that was a nice trade to open the morning. I woke up, I had some green in my account, locked those profits there. Probably netted about 15, 20 grand on this trade. Solid trade, pretty stress-free. After hours dip did scare me a little bit last night, which is why I bought small. I didn't have much size. I think I had about 4,000 shares. And then I sold rips. I sold into strength. The best time for me, guys, to sell a stock, in my opinion and in my experience, is to sell into strength. A lot of people are asking me about that CEI trade. I'm going to talk through that trade as well today. You want to be selling where there's, I call it the highest FOMO. When everyone's buying, that's when I want to be unloading shares of volume into the people that are buying. Yes, I want to ride it up, maybe scale some out, ride it up, try and time the top where to sell. Unfortunately, trading's very difficult to time the tops where to sell. But in trading, you don't want to get greedy, right? So if you can take green and it runs another 10, 20, 30, 40% without you, so be it. You can't have FOMO. Don't be emotional. You just take your profits and you move on to the next trade. It's sometimes very hard. I see traders make a ton of money on a ticker, and then they start loading even heavier size on like dips. It's like, but why don't you just move on to another name or another setup? I always like to call it, once you make big money on a ticker, typically there's not too many opportunities to continue, unless maybe if it's a large cap stock, Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, right? The stuff that, the big large cap names that are going to be around forever and that continue to grow. In small to med cap land, if a stock's running 100, 200, 300%, take your money and run, I call it. Because when you hit those profit points, when you hit your targets, when you hit your personal 1, 2, 3 targets in a day, just take it and move on. There's always going to be another trade, guys. There's always going to be another trade, long or short side. So that was a good name today, EFTR. And I want to walk through another name and guys, these aren't my trades. This was a trade, but the next trade I'm going to show is not a trade. I just want to show you like a specific trend. So obviously everyone knows Apple, right? Ticker Apple. Apple phones, Apple TVs, Apple watches, everything, right? So I want to talk through a strategy, sort of a break point for me. And there's 2 strategies I want to focus on today. One, I call it the 3 test rule. On a third test of any type of resistance, there's usually a breakout to new highs. That is a third test rule. I'll be showing some charting examples shortly. The next thing I want to talk through is a 52-week high break. A lot of new traders, including myself sometimes, I'll be honest, I make some of these mistakes. When a ticker or an index or anything, an option, anything breaks a 52-week high, people get scared and they're like, whoa, it's trading so high, it's at highs, like I can't buy this. But actually, if it's breaking those levels, you probably are going to see some more upside after that. So you'll see new traders come in and flock in to see the new upside gains. Because typically when a stock breaks all-time highs, it's bullish and it's going to see higher. That same strategy applies to small caps, micro, med tech, large caps. And I'm going to walk through Apple here. This is the daily chart. I'm going to sort of walk through sort of where we saw that. And this also applies to what I call the 3 test rule. So here's Apple, right? It made a 52-week high, I think around 150 in here, 149. Great. Then it sort of dumped down the next day. Awesome. Week later, maybe 6-7 sessions later, guys, look, we see a rip back to 149. That would be I would call that a first retest here. Okay. Traders now take profits at all-time highs. It goes down again. Maybe another 2 weeks sessions. We see a big rip. It now breaks the 49. Nope. It comes back down. Traders take profits again. That is the second reject. And then here we go, guys. The third is we get this third move, and then boom, it just breaks through 150, and it goes all the way to 157. So almost a $7 to $8 move. That's just an example of up, down, up, break into new highs. Right? So the drawing would be like an up, down, and then the candlestick break, right? And that happens all the time, right? So let me show you again. This maybe was all-time highs in here, right? This break, resistance, then it retested this. Okay, now it broke 136. What happened? The next day or two, you saw some big candles to the upside because it broke this plane right in here, this 130, 135 plane. So when a stock's breaking through or trying to bust through resistance, typically in the first 2 times, traders will sell, shorts will hop on in those levels. They'll try and move the stock back down, or selling pressure maybe brings the stock back down. Then maybe we come back up, we test a resistance level. I like to call it the 3 test. My favorite positions are getting near a third test, buying right before that break, and then boom, selling the peak. In small cap land, that could be an extra 5 or 10% move. That's a big move, right? If it breaks a resistance and pumps 5 to 10%, that's where I want to be taking those quick profits, right? Especially from an intraday day trade perspective. From a swing trade perspective, yeah, you might buy the break for a swing and then sell for higher levels. That's great. Obviously, the indexes are at all-time high right now. We're trading at ridiculous levels. Economy is pretty strong from an earnings standpoint. Obviously, there's some fears coming up into 2022 about sort of tapering inflation, et cetera, rates. So I don't know what price action will be in 2022, but right now everyone's pretty bullish. As you can see, the dips are being bought on large names, dips are being ripped on indexes. So this 52-week break sort of works, right? So I'm going to show you another stock, MongoDB. I'm going to show you another one, the daily chart. Look at this daily rip here. MongoDB had a, up, down, up, retest, right? Up, retest, down. And then we had a huge earnings beat and guidance beat, and we ripped to new highs, right? It ripped right through 52 weeks. But why did it rip higher? Because once it broke this 440 plane in here, it just started to rip. And the next day was a big day trade breakout on the option side as well. Now it's starting to slow down, a little selling pressure, which is very normal after a huge run like that at 27% in a day. Maybe it'll start to trickle down. Maybe it'll be another buy, and maybe it'll retest 515s again. So, when things break all-time highs, you shouldn't be scared to potentially trade it. You should almost look at that as an opportunity to potentially see more. Now, that doesn't work with every trade, but it's a pattern that I'd like to see. And when I'm talking 52-week highs, I'm talking volume hitters, hundreds of $1 million being, sold by the minute or hour, right? That's the 52-week high breaks I want to be buying into. When the liquidity is there, the chart is there, the price action's there, and then let's ride that thing for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20% higher. That's a day trade, swing trade, etc. Okay? So that's what I call the 52-week high break. In terms of your 3 retest rule, here's another example. This is not necessarily a clear example, but I alerted PMCB today. Around 370, 380s. If you caught it, it was about 369, 375 alert. And here's where I alerted it. And this was a 3-test break. This was seeing higher and higher lows all day long. If you saw 355, I didn't catch that dip. I saw it hit my scanner right on this flag. I saw it in my scanner. I didn't buy. I bought right in here for the first position. I bought about 17,000 shares. Then I bought, right? Started to sell out a bit. And I'm like, ooh, okay, maybe it's going to retest 61. I might stop loss out. But no, right? It went up, dropped, went up, dropped, retested support here, higher low from 356, 360. Then we saw a rip. I wanted to see this 386 break, which I did. I added 50,000 shares when I saw that break. Why did I add 50,000 shares when I saw that break? I saw this break because when I see that break, that's the high of the day. I know we're probably going to see a potential higher area, right? Then all of a sudden, 1, 2, 4. That's a 4 or 5% move. We saw a 410 push. That's new highs, right? High, support, high, drop down, high, right? So it's like an up, down, going higher and higher lows, right? Now for this name, where would be the next, why did people take profits at 408, 410? I'll tell you exactly. Look at the chart here intraday. 406, 407 on the 9th was resistance, right? In pre-market, that was resistance. 430, that's resistance at 5 in the morning. Right? So maybe tomorrow you can see a gap up to 420, 430. That is where I'd be looking to sell this for 10 to 20% move if you bought in the 360s, 370s, right? So it's all about where to enter, where to exit. And it's all, for me, charts. Everything is charts. Every trade I make is a chart. If the chart doesn't align, I'm not just buying a ticker to buy a ticker. Everything is basically on charts, right? So this was a 3-test rule here with higher and higher lows. Maybe breaks out to 420, 430. As I mentioned, I was only looking for 5 to 10% in this trade. I think I picked up about 6 to 7%. It was a great, nice little play in here. Volume was strong. I think this traded a little over 20 to 25 million shares today. So volume was pretty strong. The average volume, I think, daily was about 2 to 3 million. So almost 10x unusual volume today, average volume. On the 10-15 day. So that's a good opportunity to pick up some volume, to pick up some percentages. If the volume was not there, if it was just only trading 1 million, 2 million, 3 million shares, I would have shied away from this trade because it wouldn't have been confirmation for me. But the fact that it traded 20 to 25 million shares, there was an opportunity for some small percentage gains in there. So that was one trade. And then really, I know there's a lot of questions on CEI. I'm going to look it through CEI. I gave a huge buy alert in the 60s, 0.60s, 60 cents. And then I gave a bigger buy alert in the 0.40s, 40 cents. So a lot of averages, I think, between were 0.40, 0.60. You guys do the math. That's a 200% gain if you caught the 0.40. If your average was 0.50, almost 200% gains. Shy a little bit from 200% gains from that buy alert. But this was a long swing that I alerted in channel. 40, 50 cents. A lot of people looked at me like I was crazy. I gave a 0.88, a 1 target, a 120 as my Grand Slam target. This blew away my 120 Grand Slam target. This thing is trading. The daily is absolutely crazy. This thing literally is flying on the daily, right? 33 was the low. I mean, we're up how much? 200% in the last couple of trading sessions? 150%? As you can see, 120 was my target here, which was about right in there where the dump started before. 120, which the dump was back in March. So that's why I gave that target. Your next levels, those are resistance, will be a 140, 150. Major resistance at 170, 180. And huge resistance at 225. So those would be my areas potentially on this ticker. But as I mentioned, it's trading 100 to 200 million shares a day. I would think there's a pullback coming. This is run from 40 cents, but who knows? It could hit it could hit $1.50, $2. It's trading up 3% in after hours already again. So nice strong close. But this was a phenomenal swing trade for 100 to 200% gains on the low side, 100% on the high side, probably 200 plus. This was a great name for us on the long swing channel from a penny micro standpoint. So this was a good trade, but this is what I'm talking about. This is what I call momentum trade. It just picked up. And it just started getting a little nutty right when it broke $1. So that's that trade. And then I really want to talk through, I want to give time now for the next about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so. I want to talk through your Q&A, your guys' questions, because that's why you're all on the line. So I'm going to read through, I'm going to try to do one question from each person. I see that we have 100 plus people attending this session, which is phenomenal, and probably more that are going to be recording. But I'm going to try and look through the chat now, and let's do a question. So if you have a question, I'm going to try and answer it as fast as possible and as most efficiently as possible. If I don't know the answer, guys, I'm just going to honestly say I don't know the answer. I'll try and get back to you. But yeah, so you guys use this time to start shooting out some questions. Shoot some questions. That's either a trading question, a chart question, a ticker question. Ticker questions are tough because I got to pull it up, show the whole thing, the whole group. Scanner, what to look for, how you doing it, and any questions at all, shoot. Just start shooting in the comment section below. What's your thought on UPST? So UPST, I'm not gonna lie, this ticker has done me very dirty in the last week or two. I probably took almost a 6-figure loss between shorting and puts on this name. I don't think I've ever seen this type of price action on a stock in the last 2 or 3 years, besides maybe Tesla and Playboy. Those are the two names that come to mind when I say UPST. And this daily, guys, is just, it's insanity. We saw a move from 40 all the way to 150, then a dump back down to 82. Then we had analyst coverage in here, and you see some analyst major upgrades, 190. Then it starts to dump back down to 100s. So there was a lot of dumping in here, and then it just broke through 206, and now it's just trading at, I call it moon levels. We're in the stratosphere, and there's nothing stopping it. It's going 4 or 5% a day, and you haven't seen a single sign of sell-off yet. And major buyers in the 170 to 200s, and this thing's being like a monster ripper. That being said, though, stuff that rips usually tends to dip a bit. Besides some of the really big, this company is great. I have heard some great things. They're crushing their earnings. They're just doing everything right. As you can see by the price action, the analyst targets, they're just blowing things out years ahead of their projections. And that's where the price action's coming in. So you may be thinking, wow, it has to dip. But actually, it may not really ever dip that much. It may consolidate these levels for a very long time. Could be months, could be years. I don't know. But the trade, I lost a couple shorts on this. I lost a couple puts. I've been trying to chase the top. And I've decided maybe I think I should just go long on this name. So that's UPST, great company, doing really well, as you can see by the price action. Maybe a retest back down to that 220, 228, 230 range. That's long term. As you can see, I'm going to compare this chart, and by means no similar companies, but Playboy, if you look at Playboy, this is backed at about $10, right? Big PE shop on this one, ran most of this float, ran all the way to $63. That's a 6x return. UPST is trading about an 8 to 12x return. They're 1,200%, I think, on the year or since IPO. And then we saw sort of this top out, and then we start to see some selling pressure. Over time, from May, we've seen a drop of about over 50%, 40-50% from highs. This trading about $25 a share. So, in terms of realistic, that chart reminded me a little bit of UPST. A lot of people are calling it the next Tesla. There's a lot of rumors, a lot of stuff going on, but I think maybe the best way to play this one, if you're long on this name, UPST, is just running a trailing loss, maybe off moving averages. If there's a lot of selling pressure starting to come in on a big day, maybe that's your time to take some profits and run for the gates. There's people that are up 300, 400, 500, 6x on this name. So, there's going to be a profit-taking day. It is a relatively small float for a blue chip, for a large cap, excuse me. But yeah, that's sort of how I play this name. That's UPST. Awesome. How do we feel about meme stocks? GME, AMC, Clove. As I mentioned, I don't really play them. I do not hold any of those stocks overnight. I only trade meme stocks on catalyst days or when the volume's absurd for a quick day trade in and outs. Joel Watson, yesterday alerted to long in the micro shelf. Why? Into the micro shelf? Micro shelf. What's micro shelf? If you could ask that question again on the bottom, Joel, I'll try and get to it. Stelios Biosi, how do you find stocks to invest in? Like, how do you set up a screener? So I use the screener Trade Ideas. I have a custom on that. I also use Benzinga a little bit. I also use FinViz. I also use Webull Top Gainer. There's a bunch of different things to look at. From a cheap standpoint, if you're just starting trading, I'd highly suggest looking at like a Webull Top Gainer. You could look at FinViz. Those are all like sort of very much free and accessible. So that's what I would look at from a scanner standpoint. Trade Ideas is very expensive. It gives you all the AI algorithm, a ton of stuff, what's gapping up, what's gapping down, unusual volume, low floats, gets you everything you need. But I would, that's a little bit pricey. It's probably $1,000, $2,000 a year. I don't know what their running cost is now. And you can look into that on TradeIdeas.com, I think. So that's that one. That's from a scanner standpoint. Top gainers, you can look at Webull. I use Webull for my brokerage, my favorite brokerage. I'll post in the Discord later. I'm going to show you guys. It's my favorite brokerage. You could do 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, UPST did that. How do you roll out a call option? Emerson Aquino. How do you roll a call option? You would go and basically just hit buy a call. You'd go to the options tab and you would buy a call. So typically, like with super big stocks, right? A 1 or 2% move could mean 100, 200, 300% move on an option call. So if 1% is not good enough for you, right, on the larger names, and it's potentially going to make a move, what are we going to do? You can buy a call option to potentially make your money on the percentage-wise going up or a put option going down. So it'd be the same thing. So hopefully that helps. How did you develop the patience to play Chris L, how did you develop the patience to play the 5-minute chart? I feel like I'm missing out by not looking at the 1 minute. So for me, the 5-minute chart's my favorite time frame to trade intraday. 5-minute candlestick chart. Why? Because it gives you, for me, a clear deception on what the price action's like, right? Like, for example, we go to UPST. You can see the volume. You can feel it. You can look at it through the monitors. I don't like the 1 minute chart. I don't like the 1 minute chart only because there could be like a monster buy or monster sell. And that shouldn't dictate what you're going to do intraday, right? 5-minute gives you a more depiction, right? So if you see bounces off there, we're probably going to see a break to new highs. We did, and we saw the break. So like you can see on the 5-minute chart the buys and the selling, and like that's where you can kind of judge where you think things are going to happen. I also like to use the 15-minute bar. That's for a multi-day swing pickup. So GSAT, for example, was a multi-day swing idea. Also alerted a nice buy on that 250 this morning. Ran to 260, almost 270 today. That was a beautiful trade there. That was about almost 10%. Almost 10%, about 8%. Also alerted this thing at about 242 buy there. Ran to 290 last night. So, for this example of price action, right, you see a ton of major liquidity coming in. 3, 7, 15, 17, 20 million shares in this candle range. That's a lot of buying. Obviously, well, not obviously, you would expect with that kind of volume, you'd see maybe new highs, and we did. So price action to me is the same thing as using the 5-minute candlestick. That's the reason I use it to evaluate price action. Hopefully that helps. Chris L. James Giacoli, would you ever consider helping us set up a scanner? Yes and no. I mean, scanners all personal preference. Whether you're trading large cap, small cap, med caps, you want to be buying bottom feeders in the day. You want to be buying 52-week breakouts. You want to be buying super thin, unusual volume with small size, with micro caps, small floats. Like there's a ton of different things you can use on a scanner. I would say get comfortable with how you want to set it up. There's tons of YouTube videos out there. Maybe I can put something together for that. What do you think stocks that gap down a ton have consolidated for a while like Recon? Sam Kim. Sam, great question, Sam. Very good question. In my experience, in my opinion, when the stock goes down 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% in a day, it's usually not an immediate bounce. Now, that being said, there's not an immediate bounce unless it's a huge large cap. So, you saw the other day Lucid Motors, that gap down about 25, 26, 20%, I think it was, in pre-market. That's a multi-billion dollar company. Those dips tend to be bought up. I would call that a fire sale on a sort of a large cap stock. We saw it back with CVAC. That dropped like 50% in a night, and then it recovered like 30, 40%, 50% the next day. So large caps tend to recover more quickly than the small caps. The small cap might gap down, Sam Kim. I'm not a big fan of buying the dip same day unless it's over. I call my give or take gap down is over 80%. If something's dropped more than 85%, then I'm a buyer. I look for a day trade opportunity on the upside. Anything down 50, 60% a day, tend to not touch. There's typically maybe more downside, maybe minus 5, minus 10, minus 15% after that. Downside, more selling pressure, maybe shorts. Overall, long term, it all depends on the stock, Sam Kim, whether that's, I don't know, whether it's basically all fundamentals, biotech, whatever it is, right? Like from a long-term standpoint, there usually is a cap bounce, 10, 20%. Those are typically what I like to play. And then maybe you could, if I play them, maybe that's how you sort of get your quick profits in and out. But from your gap down bottom feeders, I call them, I try to stay away from a lot of those names. Hopefully that's helpful, Sam Kim. That being said, though, long term could provide some great opportunities, right? Depending on the stock, right? Yesterday alerted long into EFTR Microsoft in the 35 area. Why? Oh, that was Joel. Joel, gotcha. EFTR, the reason I alerted that, I thought it was potentially going to break out to 40, 50 bucks. So we saw this drop in here. Where was this name? Let me get to 5 minutes, Joel. Let me show you what I saw. Right in here, we have a consolidation around 31, right? So pretend this doesn't exist, all of this. This was today, right? This was today's action, excuse me. Let me go to yesterday's action. So 35, right? The dip happened, hit 40, dropped all the way down. Big buyers bought it up, consolidated in here, around 34. So I took an entry in the 33, 34s because I thought maybe we're going to see a spike all the way up to 40, 42, 43. It would have been a huge trade for me. Instead, I stop lossed out here. It broke the support. See this bottom two candles here, 31. Once I saw it break 31, I knew we had more downside, maybe to the 25s, which is exactly what we saw. So that was predicted price action. If the price action was good, we saw 35, 36. Boom, we would probably see 40 to 42, maybe even new HOD 45. That was yesterday's price action. So that's why I alerted a potential buy in here with a stop under this bottom candle, which was about 31. So 32, 33, 5 to 8% risk. And that would be my stop loss there, which I stop loss out. Hopefully that's helpful. How do you determine key breakpoints? Key breakpoints, John S. Very good question. I use resistances, prior resistances. So where a stock was being heavily sold, that is typically where my first target is. If a target hits that name, that's where traders are most likely, right? Prediction. That's where traders are most likely going to lock profits. Where a ticker was sold in the past, or maybe where a ticker was sold that same day, hour, minute, second, whatever it is. Okay. Can you talk please about Ellie's? Ellie's, I just like the name for gaming. It's football season. DraftKings has been super hot on a run. Ellie's had great news. It's hard to get gaming licenses. I like the weekly chart. I gave my targets on that one. 620, 670, 730, 8 plus. That's a long swing for me. I like the idea. Had a nice bounce day today. But the price action and volume sort of dried out a bit, so do keep an eye on that. But I think in this range right now, I liked it. I gave it a buy alert. So that's Ellie's. Tell me about trading GSAT. Just walk through that. What are your thoughts on Root high short interest? I'm not a huge fan of the high short interest stocks because there's a high short interest for a reason. There's people that are very bearish on a stock because of certain company fundamentals. They've been doing that for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. I mean, if you're bearish on a stock, people tend to not buy it. People tend to shy away from it. That being said, it could be great opportunities for a potential squeeze. But those are hard to come by. We've seen some crazy squeezes this year, GME, AMC, Clove, etc. Can name a ton. I try to shy away from the majorly large shorted stocks, just because for me, other than a day trade, it's not really worth a swing hold for me. I like to find solid companies or, trading well below dollar value, etc. Vinay Patil. Why you didn't trade a lot today? I haven't been trading much. You'll notice, guys, the folks in the Discord, I haven't been trading much the last few days. Price action's been absolute shit for me. For me on the scanners, it seems like there's nothing really going on. Maybe a couple names with supernova breakouts, but even then, everything sort of fades out. It's nothing like the past March, February, January. So that's really why I haven't been trading too much. If you notice, if you've been in the Discord for a few years, I haven't even given an A++ buy alert or a setup in I think almost a month, weeks, because I just don't see any A++ setups. A lot of folks are on the sidelines. A lot of folks aren't really trading. I think it's going to start picking up in October through December. There's going to see some volatility, some big buyers, some big sellers, some movements, which is good. That's what we want to trade. But that's why I haven't been trading lately that much. So I am playing a little bit, obviously. I had a red day yesterday, a big red day. Today was a nice green day, bounce back. But yeah, I haven't been trading too much because I want to wait. Sometimes the best trade, guys, for me is a no trade. Sitting cash is sometimes the best thing to do. All right, still going on some questions, guys. Trying to catch up. I'm new to the group. I saw some alerts. Was not sure when to enter a trade. Yeah, there hasn't been that many buy and sell alerts. There's just a few. As I mentioned, sit tight. Markets are a little slow right now. Bum, thoughts on Tilray ticker, please. Cannabis as a whole, ton of volume, not a lot of gap percentage. We saw major breakouts, but if you look at like a weekly chart, and almost all these weekly charts, let me show you guys CGC, for example, right? That's a cannabis name. I'll do Tilray. You asked Tilray. Tilray. I like cannabis. I do. But if you look at the weekly, monthly charts, here's the weekly. I mean, we crazy breakouts when marijuana was like mainstream and was going nuts back in October of 2018. That was. We've seen just major selling from those areas, right? And then we've seen a major pops again back in February from the 8s all the way up to the 30s, which is nice. But then it got rejected, and now it's seeing even more lows, almost back to where it started. So for me, I want to see big picture marijuana, trades around 30, 40s, this Tilray. I would like to see it hold 30s and then maybe gap up to 50s long-term multi-year play. But as I said, marijuana, the sectors now has a ton of shorts on it. It's not a sector I want to be in long-term right now. It was back then. It was nice trades, but right now, other than maybe a multi-day swing when it's hot or day trade, long-term, you need to see. I think I need to see some more buying in those ETFs, buying the marijuana ETFs, cannabis stuff. There are slightly a couple good names in cannabis. There's a one I really like out of Canada with great financials. I think I've put that one in the chat. It's Cureleaf. It's basically the only chart that I've seen. I don't even have a position in this stock. The only chart I've seen in marijuana that's actually super bullish. If you look at the inception was 19, and we're just trading well above that. Maybe a break back down to the 910s, maybe a push back to the 18s, all-time high, but it's held gains and it's had nice moves. It's not your stock that's going to get 5-10% in a day. It's going to be a stock that maybe you get 5% in a year. So that's my only marijuana. I don't even own any of it. I would like to maybe go long on a dip in the market dip. I would like to maybe buy this stock for the long term. I think it's a good potential play and setup. But the marijuana industry, to me, a lot of ugly charts, as I just showed you guys, from a big picture, weekly, monthly perspective, multi-year view. Cool. What are your favorite indicators? I use EMA. I use VWAP. I use price action volume. Honestly, I use MACD a little bit. Not much. I don't use many indicators. A lot of my things is price action, 5-minute, 15-minute charts, candlesticks. That's mainly my price act. That's mainly what I'm looking. Where the big buying taking place? Where's the big selling taking place? And I make trades and predictions and theses off that. So I'm not huge on the indicator standpoint. Robert Roundtree, thoughts on ADMP? Sorry, I do not know much about that company. Ryan Seymour, okay. Emerson Aquino. Sava's chart. Sava, that was a crazy name. Made some money on the downside, that name. This thing is I call it a volatile roller coaster. I mean, I would never be. My number one rule is never short biotech. The swings are crazy. You could go up 40, down 40 in a matter of days, right? We went up 50, down. I mean, it's crazy. It's nuts. So look at this volatility. I mean, it drops to 74, rips to 146, and then dumps in there. I mean, it's crazy. So for me, biotech, especially in an Alzheimer disease, or a company that's trying to solve that, very volatile. Maybe some money where you just kind of tuck it away in an IRA, or that's sort of how I'd play it. Forget about it. Sort of like a lose it all mentality. That would be sort of these biotech names that you've seen go from like 30 to 200, or crazy moves, guys. So either play the momentum a couple days in a row, maybe a weekly, monthly swing for the upside, or maybe shorting on the downside. Tons of shorting opportunities in there. But Sava, I do like the company, but as I said, right there I think there was a lawyer or something on the bear side. Something came out. I don't even know exactly what happened, and this is what caused the sell-off in here. Then the company, I think, had an announcement. I think they have phase 3 starting soon or something like that. So there's some cool things going on with this one. But the price action for me, I'd like to see a true price action bounce. I'd like to see this maybe break 58, so we can maybe start to gap back into the 70s for me to be bullish again. Or maybe a dip back down to 45. Low support would be 35, 36. Love to go long in 35, 36. That would be that would be like a nice big buy alert for me. I'd probably load long there. So I don't know which way the direction of this stock may go. Up back to 60s or down to the 30s. So that's my opinion on Sava. What determines if a stock gets an A++? Ray G. The A++ is just for me. I call it, where it's my big joke in this Discord group. You can see the bio Discord above, Discord info above. The A++ alerts for me is basically A++ in my mind means like I have a very high conviction. I have a very high percentage in my mind that trade is going to be successful. Typically an A++ alert for me is I feel about 70% confidence that trade is going to end up hitting its targets that I'm giving. So for me, it's an A++ buy alert or trade alert that I'm going to trade it, whether that's buying large cap calls, whether that's buying the dip, selling the rip, or whether that's just playing a crazy momentum name to the upside. So that's what I call an A++ alert. Hopefully that's helpful. Thoughts on ICEE? I don't know. There was crazy volume after hours. I saw that gap up. Didn't even see news. I don't even know what happened on that. I was looking around, but there was like millions of shares being bought up in there. So that was interesting. Price action. Didn't play. I was going to buy the dip, but didn't play. Garage 518. How do you know stock will run the day before, or idea if it will? Based on price action, Garage, that's how I determine whether a stock could potentially break out the following day or maybe in a week later. You can really see throughout a day, about price action, whether something might gap up or not, or down. If there's a lot of buying going on, if it's being looks like it's being held up, not many dips, all the dips are being eaten up, you could potentially see more new highs the next day or following week. And then there's that breakout period. And breakout periods where you want to be selling, not buying. So that's sort of how I look at that, Garage. Christopher Cristiano, what program are you using to show examples on? This is Webull. It's my favorite brokerage. I highly recommend looking into Webull. It's completely free. 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. you can chart and trade. Has a great desktop view as well. I've also, this is where I've turned $15,000 into over $2 million now, all on Webull through this account challenge that I started on Webull. So I highly recommend you can check out anything on that. You could also ask me or the group about anything on Webull. A lot of us love to use it. Just really accessible. I love the 4 a.m. piece, 8 p.m. You can buy or sell before most of the world or market can even get in and out of position, right? Stock market's going up. You could buy names that you like to ride the intraday action, or if the stock market's, breaking down, or we having like a, COVID, breakdown, like, oh, maybe, a big rejection, you can start to sell some stuff before most people can sell. So I do like it in that aspect. I do love using Webull. UPST, I went over UPST, scroll back, rewind. How do you identify accumulation candles? That's a great question. That is Mr. Future History. How do you know if something's accumulating, right? Or I would take accumulating and consolidation as the same thing. If you see a stock, every time it dips, it gets brought back up. Every time it dips, it gets brought back up. And I'm talking big volume stocks, right? Every time it dips, it gets brought back up. That, to me, is someone's accumulating dips. for a potential rip higher into close or later in the day or at a certain later period in time. You can see that price action intraday. In terms of like evaluating a swing trade, if you're evaluating a swing trade, how can you tell accumulation or consolidation is going on? Let's look at a daily chart on, I don't know, PMCB, I guess. This is a terrible, I mean, it's not a good example, but you can see the consolidation, right? If I look at the daily chart, just to show, this is what consolidation looks like. Every day, right? It's just up, down, very little minimal moves, right? Up 2, down 1, up 2, down 3, up 5, down 2, right? And then we saw that breakout today from the consolidation zone, which was about 12 trading sessions here, maybe 15, right? In the mid threes. And then we saw the breakout to 4 today. So that would be what I call consolidation, people accumulating dips and then selling into the rips, right? Selling into the strength. That is what consolidation and accumulation looks like. That's from a swing trade example. From an intraday day trade setup, I don't have a good example for this, but let me think of a good example that saw like new highs today, really, EFTR. I really didn't think there was a good example today at all. Maybe this at 10 a.m. Consolidation, accumulate dips, bought the dip, and then boom, sold that was a 6% rip. People would sell that candle, right? So accumulate, consolidate, sell a rip. Consolidate, sell, accumulate, sell the rip, right? So that's potential. That's a fast pace. That's an intraday trade, right? Okay. Use Webull for shorting. I try to tend away from shorting micro caps. If it's like a larger float micro cap and it's up a ton and I think there's selling pressure, I'll try and short. I never really get many shares available on Webull. The best app for shorting is Trade Zero. I do have an account. I don't really use it at all, actually. I like never log in. Trade Zero is very good for shorting. High fees though, but you can short even a lot of the penny movers. There's just high fees for it. And I mentioned shorting, you can lose it all. So, you can lose, not lose it all, you can lose everything and owe money as well on a margin call. So I try and stay away from shorting small micro caps. I do like to short large caps though. And that's pretty easy to do on Webull. You could short any large cap any day you'd like. So I do use Webull for that. Farouk Jarav, hopefully I'm saying your last name right. When are you starting a new challenge? That is a great question. I would like to maybe start a new account challenge, maybe in 2022. I think that's sort of when I'm going to probably run a new account challenge. I really want to hit my targets this year, guys. As I mentioned, I hit 2 million very recently, and my next goal is 2.5 to 3 million. I really would love to end there. I'd love to end the year. That would be a phenomenal year, all off that challenge. Great account growth to continuation. That's where I'd love to end and get to fully on that challenge before starting a new challenge. And so I'm really super honed in right now. I'm finishing and closing out the year on my current account challenge, my personal account challenge. But then maybe I'll start a new one, maybe like 25 to a mil or maybe 5K to 25K. Something small where it's like realistic for people, right? So yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Maybe I'll run polls at the end of the year on what kind of account challenge we should do. But yeah, you guys could obviously follow along. I'm going to be monitoring all my trades and stuff like that through it. Cool. That's really it, guys. I just ran through like maybe 40 questions there. There's 104 of you right now live listening in. I love you all. I really appreciate it, guys. Not only do I love you, I hope that this stuff is like helpful. I hope you're learning a ton. Like I want you to be like, oh, Spud's on YouTube. Like, I want to go learn. Like, that's what I'm doing these for. I'm not just sitting here for an hour of my time just speaking, all these YouTubers talk out of their ass on like whatever, right? I'm here. I want to make sure everyone's learning. I want to make sure this is like helpful I want to be like the best platform there is to like learn from, right? So I don't do this. I'm literally doing this fully for free just to show everyone like what I'm looking at, how I'm looking at things, how I'm trading, maybe just a couple of tips that could help you as well, right? Whether you're an investor, a trader, a momentum trader, a day trader, a swing trader, whatever it is, hope that you can gather little bits and pieces every single day. So that's my end goal here, guys, these sessions. I hope this session was helpful. Appreciate all the great questions. Once again, If you don't follow me, you can follow me on Webull, 53,000 followers, StockTwits, 22,000 followers. I have a full Discord, 17,000 users, thousands and thousands of premium members in there. Feel free to go subscribe. Just hit the button above, or my tech team will type it in the comment section now. Highly recommend the Discord, great content, etc. And super excited, guys, to close out this year. Let's continue finding great trades. As I mentioned, let's not overtrade. Let's only find positive, good-looking setups that are sort of that A+, A++ range, right, for myself, right, that I call it. So, look for those types of opportunities. There's a ton of great things going on in the market right now. We're at all-time highs. Long accounts are up big. Like, there's a ton of big names making breakouts. So there's a lot of opportunity in these markets, guys. So don't be scared, but you want to be smart. You want to be disciplined. Sort of soak it all up. So happy trading, good stuff, and I will see you guys soon. Spud Zone out. Appreciate it. Hit the like button, also subscribe. Hit the like button, also subscribe. How could I forget that? Appreciate you all. Thanks, guys.